So right now I'm on spring break, meaning I went to my dad's house for the week, and I have almost nothing to do. So late at night, I like to troll the town, walking alone, even if that does seem a little dangerous. But I only have one friend here. Anyway, Sunday night I was out on the town alone, and leaving a little pub I had found on Main Street that sold the apple ale I liked. It was around 1 in the morning. So yeah, I was buzzed. I had 2 glasses, but I wore a large black sweatshirt with dark jeans to fend off creepers. It works, but I was walking back home in the dark with my phone out as a flashlight on my street. There are limited street lights on this road. Though it is a relatively safe neighborhood, strictly middle class, I figured no one else would be out. I was about 3 houses away from mine when I looked over and saw 2 figures on the porch talking to a man who was shaking his head and refusing to open the screen door. I stopped cautiously at the end of the driveway, holding my phone out, ready to either help or call 911, something, because I had no idea what was happening. I could only think maybe these 2 people were harassing the man, who looked startled and angry. Now, I by no means would have been able to help. I'm 5'6", and roughly 130 pounds, and have no fighting skills. But I felt like maybe my large hoodie made me look bigger, rougher, so I stood there watching with caution. Then I heard the voices. 2 kids, it sounded like, and I stepped forward again. Curiosity at this point pumping in my veins, as I involuntarily moved forward. I kept walking. I was halfway up his driveway and illuminated by the porch light, so he could see me, I could see him. I just stood there watching. "Please let us in. We need to call our mom. Please, you have to let us in." That is what the voice said. The voice showed no sense of fear, just confidence mingled with urgency. I stood there with chills running down my spine and unable to move as I tried to make sense of the situation. From a normal point of view, it would look as if a grown man was refusing 2 children the help they needed, late at night. Heartless man, helpless children. But the sense of dread at that moment that filled my senses, it just didn't make sense. Why would this man look so afraid? Why? I finally cleared my throat, figuring maybe, just maybe, if this man wouldn't help the kids, or the man needed help, I could still do something. The man looked up, and the kids turned around. The man looked even more afraid. He at that point let out a yelp and slammed his door, making me jump. The kids looked at me, and I looked straight at them. Every instinct telling me to make a run for it. I was almost home, and I knew for a fact that my dad left the door unlocked for me. The kids just came closer, becoming more seeable in the light. That's when I realized they had like white in their eyes. It looked just black. They slowly came toward me, not asking me anything about help, but looking slightly confused as I felt. I feel so stupid saying this, but I didn't run. I wanted to, but I was compelled to stay until the taller child was right in front of me. He was only a few inches shorter than me, and I glanced down at him. In a startled moment, he stared back up at me. "We have to use a phone," he finally said. His voice was eloquent, if that can describe it. He knew what he wanted, and for being alone with a stranger at 1 a.m., he did not sound afraid. "I don't have one," I said back. This time I backed up, not wanting him to be that close, still unable to run. "Please, can we come in and use the phone? We need to get a hold of our mother," he said. Lie. My instincts told me to lie, because it wasn't as if I could outrun them when they were in front of me now, and I stupidly hadn't ran when I had the chance, so I lied. I shrugged. "I don't have a phone, and I don't live on the street or anywhere near here. I'm sorry." I knew my voice was shaking, but I couldn't help it as I slowly started backing up. "I'm in the same boat as you guys. My ride ditched me, and I'm just walking until I find a phone too. Maybe they would leave me alone if they figured I had nothing." Around this time, my brain reminded me of the black-eyed kids, and I still refused to believe it. But then, I also refused to help children standing, staring at me in the flesh. "Please help us. We need to be let in," the boy repeated. I shook my head. "Try another house, man, or a payphone. I have change you can have," I offered. "No, forget it." This time the other one spoke up. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "I wish I could help more." I knew that I looked younger than I appeared, especially with a large hoodie on and large eyes, so maybe they figured I was only a teenager, and they both simply nodded and then stared more. "I have to go," I said. "Good luck." With that, I turned and walked in the direction I came, not running. I just kept thinking they can smell fear, they can smell fear, they can. I walked. I didn't reach for my phone, but I just kept walking. I must have walked 3 or 4 blocks from my street when I turned around and headed back, heart pounding. I walked up my street hesitantly, looking for those damn kids, and not seeing anything until I reached that house again. The porch light was on, and the man was standing there with the door open, screen door closed, holding a baseball bat and shaking. Our eyes met and he jumped again. I looked at him confused until I realized what I looked like. One of those kids, given my height and from a distance blurry figure. Did the kids leave? I called out, hoping my voice would help him relax into knowing I was just another person. The ones you were with earlier, he shouted back. I stepped closer and he jumped back again. No, the ones who were outside that talked to me for a few minutes. They wanted to call their mom. Did they leave? Do you know if they left? I could hear my own voice trembling, and I think this was what broke his trance of hatred on me. I watched him walk away earlier, he pointing in another direction from which I had walked. I feel uneasy. I won't let you in. I have to go home, I said. I don't go to my dad's house often, so it makes sense that he wouldn't recognize me, even in the dark, but I walked home, determined to make it. I got there safe, no freaky things. I locked the door and sat in the kitchen for a long time, afraid to go to my room where there was a huge window and afraid to see what might be looking at me. The scary part is, last night there was a knock at the door. It was 11 or so. I didn't answer because my father asked me not to. Said this late, it was no one we wanted to talk to anyhow, but I can't help but feel uneasy about it. Maybe it was those kids. Last night I was watching that 70s show reruns, eyes heavy and mind in a daze. I was starting to fall asleep when I awoke to what I thought was a loud thump by the patio door. The chocolate chip cookie I was halfway through slid off my hand, somersaulting down my torso as this noise brought me to an awakening twitch. Just an animal, I thought, or the house settling. Eric Foreman is so goofy. Donna is way out of his league. Eric is lucky. I like this show. Back to sleep. Thump. This time from the ceiling. I shrieked. What the hell is that? This time I sit up, with upright posture like I'm ready to focus on any minor detail that strikes my senses. I turn the kitchen light on, just out of a general state of fear, without really a concern about anything being in the kitchen. I check the back deck from the thump from before. That was super weird, I think. Nothing else happens. I start to relax some. I'm not really worried at this point, but still a little on edge. I am a college student spending the summer at home with my parents, working in downtown DC, there at the beach, and I'm alone in this rather large house. It's 10:36 p.m. There's knocks on the door. Seriously, I think? Now again, if I were on the set of a horror movie, or had been watching something scary for that matter, I would have drawn an immediate connection between the thump noise and the knocking unusually late at night. But neither of these things applied to me at the moment, so I didn't. I was still kind of anxious though from those thumps, but when the door knocked, my attention immediately forgot about this noise that was likely nothing to worry about. Probably a salesperson or a mailman. I remembered one time a few years back a UPS man rang our doorbell at like midnight to drop something off. I was the only one awake, so this scared the shit out of me. Maybe it's something like that. The most likely scenario would be my buddy Frank, who considered coming over but said he was too tired. He can be a little spacey though sometimes, so I guess he could have changed his mind without telling me. There's several more knocks at the door. I guess I'll go over there and at least tell whoever the hell it is that I'd like my privacy, unless it's Frank, of course. I will then remind how spacey he can be. A little weirded out by the situation though, I grabbed the first thing resembling a weapon I can get my hands on. An old lacrosse stick. I hold it from the head with the shaft facing outward like a lightsaber. As I turn the corner to my foyer, I see through the door side windows a pair of skinny legs with odd worn slippers. Alright, this is a little weird. That's definitely a skinny chick. Maybe she's confused, trying to visit a friend and knocked on the wrong house. The house next door is about the same size. Doesn't really look a lot like mine, but I don't know what else this could possibly be. As I stand between the large modern door and whoever the hell is out there, I lean my lacrosse stick on the ground behind me so the stranger won't see it. As my hand floats hesitantly toward the doorknob, I hear a voice coming from the other side of the door. No clear words, just light whispers. I assume someone must be with the Slippers girl because I haven't even opened the door yet, and as far as I can tell, this person hasn't even seen that someone is home. Unless she's talking to herself. That thought didn't calm me down at all. My hand stopped, frozen in midair, about halfway between the rest of my body and the door, like I was doing some weird robot dance move. I wait for several seconds, disturbed by the odd synchronization between my movement toward the doorknob and the voice outside. I wait longer. No voices. I take a deep breath in through my nose and out through my mouth. Several more knocks. I open the door about 3/4 of the way, quickly like a toddler anxious and curious to discover the monster in their closet. I stick the right half of my body out, facing 2 dark, feminine figures on my front porch. The first thing I notice is those beat-up slippers. I look up from there, my head and neck tilting upwards to see the rest of her. Straight black hair, uncombed, matted in different directions. She looks sickly, shaking in the cold, with a hooded sweatshirt and tiny khaki shorts. She's about 5'3", looks to be 13 years of age, staring straight forward, which for me, about 5'9", standing on a raised surface above my lower porch, is at my pelvis. In the dark, I cannot make out the features on her face, but could tell something about her was awkward. The way she stood there off-balanced, her neck tilted to the left side like a chewed-up, overused doll. Before I can react in any way, I observe her partner, about half a foot behind her and to the left. A noticeably younger girl, maybe 9 years old, wearing a ragged, dark blue shirt, black pants, and rain boots. She had similar black hair, though it didn't have the same bizarre demeanor as her older sister. I look down at these 2 girls and have no idea how long it has been since I opened the door. Have they said anything? What do I say? This is weird. Can I help you 2? I muster out in a tone I typically use talking to kids, but with an undertone of chill in my voice. I stutter some when I get anxious or excited, and here I could barely make out a word. "Hello, sir. Please, we are cold and would like to use the phone," the younger one says, her head facing straight forward. Her tone was like nothing I'd ever heard. It was feminine, sure, but each word left her mouth fully independent of the ones before, like they were just words being spit out of a machine and placed in the correct order by a third party. Almost like a robot, but she was clearly human. A young girl I am speaking to, yet somehow very, very off. She didn't sound her age. She sounded to be at least 14 or maybe 15, but she looks no older than 10. Why did she speak to me and not her older sister? What is going on? Is her older sister shy, mentally handicapped? Am I dreaming? And what does she mean by using my phone? It was like she was speaking off script and mixed up her question. Did she mean to ask me something else? Not sure how to respond to this arbitrary question, I managed. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you 2 lost? First, nothing, just stares, straight forward, directly ahead, as if with no visual awareness. Then the younger one said, "Please, sir, we are alone and need to call home. Let us in." Her response was with the same monotone voice. Didn't really answer my question. It was like she was speaking without any concern over what I was saying. Just when it was time for her next line, and the last part, "let us in," the command, completely separate from her prior polite, candid requests. Trembling in fear and confused with a strong sensation telling me something was horribly wrong, I said, "Well, I am sorry, but I cannot let you into my house. You'll have to just stay here while I grab a phone and call for you." I couldn't leave those 2 kids just stranded out there, but I knew. Something in the pit of my stomach just told me I couldn't let them in. I was way too scared. The 2 just looked straight forward, not responding. Suddenly, the older one, who has yet to move or say anything, changes her expression completely. She squeezes her fists as they shake at her sides, as if in great pain, and without moving her pale face or neck, makes a smile, showing all her teeth at once. They were sharp, inhuman, like an animal's. At this point, I make an obvious loud scream of terror. The younger one notices my fear and looks up at me. In her pale face, her eyes, was blackness. Pure black, no clear irises or retinas, like 2 black marbles. I then noticed her silent, smiling older sister's black eyes as well. A grotesque nausea floods my stomach, closing in on me, choking me. I am frozen. I do not manage to scream. I can't. I'm lost in fear. My entire body speeds up, tingling and numbing. I lose myself. And finally, after what feels like several minutes, I let out a noise of horror that I don't think I've ever made, as I close the door in front of me and retreat to the safety of my home. My body is still shaking. I stand, crying and trembling at my front door. I need to reach my cell phone, which is in the family room. I can still hear that 70s show in the background, which brings me some relief, but it sounds off now, foreign, almost like another language in my fearful state. I need to call the cops. I can't let them in. Get the hell out of here, I yell while banging on the door in an attempt to scare them off. Undescribable sounds came from the other side like animal cries or barks. It doesn't sound like the younger girl. I know it isn't. I know it's the older girl, the silent, mentally off one. But I can't fathom this. No, I can't believe this at all. I need to reach my cell phone, but I can't move. I can't lose track of them. I can't see the slippers in the side window, but I know she's still there. More animal noises from outside. I scream, yell, and bang my lacrosse stick against the door. Anything I can get out of my tired lungs and muscles. I felt like I was being attacked by a grizzly bear. I was in full-on survival mode, doing all I could to scare them away. But every noise I made was matched by the older girl with her disturbing barks and screams that to this day haunt my dreams. Then, from the other side of the door, I hear a muffled, "We just want to call our mother," from the younger girl. "Please, we are scared and alone. Just let us in. Let us in." That last part, "let us in the exact same cadence twice over, like a recording. Please let us in, like a chant. Let us in, let us in, let us in. The younger girl continues, each command louder and more assertive than the one before, as the older girl's noises match her demands. I wait for any signs of safety of this horrible nightmare coming to an end. I continue screaming at them until finally it stops. The noises, the chanting, it's gone. The slippers are gone. I look out my window, sprinting legs, the older girl, running the speed of a male track star, but with her legs twisting all over each other like a circus freak. This is so messed up. I see her trail off, catching up with her younger sister, who must have given the orders to leave while she stayed for a minute or two, barking and screeching, yelping like a Neanderthal. I watched as the older sister finds her younger sister waiting on the side of the road. They stand there, not looking back at my house, staring straight ahead the other way, like they were waiting for something or someone. And suddenly, a large, wiry figure walks toward them. Long legs and arms and lanky, inhuman features, with the shape of a woman, but far too tall and awkward in form, like one of those scarecrow-like animation figures from a Tim Burton film. This creature, this monster, leads them away into the night. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with your friends. If you have a suggestion for a future video, please send it over to docket360@gmail.com. And you can find me on Twitter @docket360. And as always, have a good night.